Get straight into it. Welcome to the High Vibe Podcast. With my
Yes,
host
sir.
Jean-Luc. I am Pat. Let's get straight into it, man. So Luke, go ahead, man. Let's talk about the reason for starting this podcast.
So the reason to start a podcast, is not saying that the content is not our content and our mission in the community that we want to build. Like, it's out there. There's a lot of people that's on the high vibe wave, that's on the high frequency, that talk about energy and things of that nature, right? But one thing I did notice, um, listening to the content is that a lot of times when I'm listening to piece of content about energy, keeping your energy high, keeping your frequency high, that also really sometimes it feels like that content creator is they're also addressing haters and negativity, right?
Right,
So a lot of the content is telling you what not to do, what to stop doing, what you
right,
shouldn't do anymore, right? And those words, no, don't, stop, like that's all negative frequency. That's all low frequency talk. There's not enough conversation about what to actually do when you are experiencing trauma, when you are in that depression state, when you are in that low frequency or that low vibrational state, right? Because of something that you're going through or something that just happened, right? So there's
right,
not a lot of content that I've noticed that's geared towards, okay, this is what you're going through, right? We're not going to talk about what you shouldn't do anymore, what you should stop doing, but let's just strictly focus on what we should be doing, right? So as,
right,
as entrepreneurs, as producers, who like to produce as much as we can at a high rate, especially when you're getting it out the mud like we are, right? Like,
for
it's
sure.
like trauma happens and we experience these episodes of depression, right? And we don't know how to come back from it,
Mm,
right?
mm-hmm.
And then it takes a lot of time now as business owners, content producers, just producers in general. Like we can't afford to get back time, right?
Right, right.
And so there's just not a lot out there that I've seen that actually say, hey, you're going through this. These are the steps that you should take.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying?
Right. Earlier we had a conversation which was really profound. Um, can you elaborate for us a little bit on what we discussed earlier?
Yeah. So I think it's easier to be, uh, just be completely transparent and intentional, right?
Right,
Let me tell you how I put it in action, right?
right.
So, uh, recently getting out of a 10-year relationship, right? 10-year on and off relationship ended really
Mm,
nasty work, right? And going through a divorce and also, uh, with my 8-year old son with a disability, a nonverbal kid, right? He's in the middle of it. So it's really nasty work, right? And so, uh, when it got really bad, when it got to, it's like its worst spot last year,
right.
right? It was a gut punch. It was something that just left like a crater, like a big hole in my personal being, right? And but because I've been through the mud, I've been through so much of it, right? And it's either you go deeper into that depression or you bounce back, right? And being a routine oriented person, right? Like I just developed these routines that when I am experiencing that sort of level of trauma or that depressive state, right?
Right,
I like to do a couple of things to like climb back out of there, right?
right.
The first thing I do is I don't go immediately to the trauma bonding, right? What
Ah,
my
yeah.
goal is, I'm trying to replace that negative space that's been left and I'm trying to fill it with positivity, right?
Mm,
So now I'll, I'll go and create a new business. I'll go and I'll start working on different projects. I'll go and I'll set my day and my life up to where every moment that I have, that's not involved with like obligations like work or something like that, right?
Right.
I'll fill it with the positive things that I really like to do, right?
Right.
So I know I'm getting my ass in the gym. That's one thing. Once you're going through it, you're going through anything similar to what I'm going through now, where, um, you can't see your kid until the courts get involved, right? Like that hurts and it's damaging, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, if I call Pat and I talk to Pat about it on Monday, and then I call one of the other homies, I talk to them about it, and I call one of my other homegirls and talk to them about it, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all week I've been talking about this. And all
Right.
week I've been living in that trauma. I've been living in that pain, right? Now when
Right.
it comes to the weekend, I can't really do nothing, right? I'm still really
Right.
trying to recover, right?
Right.
All I want to do
Right.
is sleep all day, right? I don't want to eat and I don't want to work out, right?
Right.
So so as soon as things got bad, even prior to things got bad, right? Like my mind is already gone. Like, how am I going to replace this void, right? How am I going to fill the void?
Right.
Sorry, say that correctly, right? How am I going to fill that void? What am I going to fill it with? And as a producer, right? I'm going to try to produce something. I'm going to get into a new business. I'm going to get into a new venture. I'm going to try to teach myself a new skill. It might be if you're into cooking, start learning some new recipes.
Ooh.
Like if
Okay.
you're into, you feel
Uh-huh.
me? If you're into whatever it is, painting, start painting some new products.
Right.
If you're into, whatever ideas that you have, right? So since then, I've worked on creating an app, creating a video game, started a new business, started producing content, right? So
Right.
literally when I come home from work, I'm getting my ass in the gym. By the way, all right, let's sure rewind. First step, get your ass in the gym. That's like
That's rule number one. Get in the
rule number
gym.
one. Get
Get in.
get your ass in the gym. And
Word.
I'm not saying get in the gym and get this whole like meal plan workout routine and start like going hard, right? Like get in the
Right.
gym. Just be in that environment. I don't care if you spend 20 minutes on the treadmill, 40 minutes on the treadmill, hour on the treadmill. I don't care if you do one push up or 1,000 push ups. If you use one machine or 20 machines, right?
Right.
Just get in there and start, right?
Right.
And try to keep that consistent. If you can't get in the gym, work out at home, right?
Right.
So first thing I'm doing, I'm getting my ass in the gym. I'm getting me a workout. Second
Right.
thing, I'm doing something else I enjoy, right?
Right.
I enjoy I'm a basketball fanatic. I got a hoop in the backyard. I'm gonna get my ass in the gym, probably get something to eat, head to the backyard, shoot some jump shots, go down to the shop, right? Like which is my garage, right? Right? Go down to the shop. I'm gonna start making some prints, right? Some
Right.
3D prints, right? And then after that, I might just go do something else I enjoy, right? But fill that time. I might go back to the app, like see what else I can code, see what else I can do in there, right? And
Right.
then by the time all that time has gone by, it's time for me to to eat and go to bed.
Right.
And now instead of spending days and hours trauma bonding, I've replaced. I keep saying replace, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to do that. Now I fill the void that's been left with positive vibes. And day one, it feels a little bit better. Day two, it feels a little bit better. Day three, it feels a little bit better. 1 month later, you would have a conversation with me or be around me and not really know the trauma or the depression that I'm experiencing because now I have all of this positive energy from the void that's been filled. And
See.
so
Yep.
see what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's just filling that void. It's just
It's
filling that void instead of just like continuing to talk about it and then reliving it and getting into the circle of depression, trauma, talk about depression, talk about trauma, and then you're left with just this really low frequency, this low vibe.
absolutely. So pretty much like what I do hear you saying is whatever's bringing you down here, like remove it, make it non-existent, but replace it with something or fill it with something
Yeah,
else. It's like
for
for
sure.
example, like like some of us may have vices that we find that's hard to quit, right? And some people think like you're
Absolutely.
supposed to just go hard, like cold turkey immediately, and really
Yeah.
you're really no. Instead of going cold turkey, you slowly start to introduce something else to replace that
Something else.
vice that you
Facts.
want, and it's like it's pretty much just replacing your habits with new habits, right?
Yeah.
And it's the
So,
same thing
yeah.
with like certain situations. You might go through a tough time with something, and something is really like really kicking your ass. Like now it's like,
Yeah.
okay, what do I do to fill this void? Because I don't want to feel like this no more. So you purposely
Yeah.
start to say, you know what, let me get into a creative space. So let me, you might be in a
Yes,
toxic
sir.
situation. You might be with toxic friends or a toxic relationship. So now it's
Yes,
like,
sir.
okay, you remove that, you fill in a void with something else. Same thing like
Yeah.
like we
Yeah.
spoke about it, like with love,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like
Yes,
some
sir.
people just you might go from a bad relationship and then you want to go into another relationship, right?
You jump it
And
and
you
you've
just jump
never
in.
filled the
You've never
existing void that
right,
the last relationship left you.
right.
So now
So
you're carrying that trauma into the next relationship, expecting the next person to fix that. No.
and on top of that, there's trauma bonding. So a lot of people like people love the trauma bond. I think people find peace in trauma bonding, which which kind of
Hmm.
is kind of like weird because it kind of creates more chaos in a sense, or it makes people feel okay with like, oh man, like we're
Yeah.
going through this tough time.
Right.
So the term misery loves company,
And yeah. And it's
but
temporary,
it's
right?
right. It's very temporary.
Temporary. It's still, even after your trauma bonding session, you're still left with that void. That crater, that crater in your soul is still there, right?
Right,
And so you brought up a good point, right? Like some
right.
people have vices. So, let's take a look at this, right? Like when people have this addiction to nicotine, right? And they
Hmm.
wanna, they wanna stop smoking cigarettes. They,
Right,
you can stop cold turkey if you have that ability, right?
right,
But what do people usually use? Right? People usually use patches, right?
right,
They'll replace that nicotine with patches or with gum until they're able to do that long enough to where they just don't need it anymore.
right,
You see what I
right.
mean? Right. So
Uh,
another example, if you had to, like, if you're like, if you made it a conscious, point in your life to maybe stop going out, with a certain group of friends,
right,
right? Um, Stop going out with certain group of friends who, whatever y'all was into, right?
right,
Now you stop going out with that group of friends, but the time that was spent going out with that group of friends is now a void, right?
right,
So whenever you get to that point where you actually used to go out with those friends, right? You don't know what to do with yourself.
right.
Like
It's
you don't know what to do with yourself. Them, like those homies are not around, or you just decided, all right, I don't want to fuck with them anymore, right? Like they not on what I'm on, like they haven't grown, whatever the case is, right?
whatever.
But
Yep.
that void is still there, and you haven't replaced that space, that empty space, and you haven't filled it with with a high frequency, with anything high frequency or high vibrational to actually like get you out of that, to get you out of that negative space. And that's really the problem. So I think content creators and capitalism has definitely taken advantage of our trauma, right? So
Right,
everything is sold to you to make you feel better. Pills are sold to you to make you feel better,
right,
but they don't fill that crater in your soul. Drugs have are sold to you to make you feel better, but they don't fill that crater,
no, it
right?
doesn't.
Like
Right,
you can go from one toxic motherfucker to another toxic motherfucker. They're not filling that crater, right?
right,
So you can go out to eat and start consuming all these comfort foods, right? And
right.
now you've been consuming comfort food for the past 3 months. You done gained 30 pounds. You're fat now, right? And now you
Yikes.
look at yourself like your clothes don't fit. You feel horrible about yourself, right?
Right,
Because you thought that drugs, pills, like all these other things would fill that void. And none of those things actually fill that void. And so you got people again telling you what not to do, but no one is giving you the steps on what to do, right?
Right.
So get into it, bro. Like,
Man,
it's just like, all right, like, let's create this pod. We've been through this many a times before, right? We
right.
bounced back, been through it. Like, we've been attacked on a number of levels, right?
On a number,
We've
and
been,
it's
we've been
oh
attacked on
man,
a number of levels,
right,
right?
right,
That we had to come back from, right? And at the time when you're being attacked, we tend to focus on the person that's attacking us or the group
right,
that's attacking us, right?
right.
But
It,
we never focus on filling that time. So we don't even see y'all. I don't even hear what you're saying. And if
right.
you're attacking me, right? And if you're trying to demoralize me in any sort of way, or if you're trying to defame me or defame my character in any sort of way, like have fun. Have
Have
fun.
a
I'm literally
have a blast.
producing too much at a high level to
Right,
even recognize. You feel me? Have a ball, have at it, right? But let's say if
right.
I wasn't producing at the level that I'm producing, now I'm just paying attention
T-
to
And
whatever the hell it is that you're saying about me
and
or what you're trying to do.
and that's low key how they get you every single time. Every time
Every time,
they'll get you
bro.
off your pivot because you're paying attention to a frequency that is not even yours. It's not even for you to pay attention to. You're not focused on the actual thing that you're supposed to do. And that's quite common. You know what I mean? It's very common, and that alone brings down other people's vibe, your vibe. You know, so what you're saying, which I totally understand, is, and the main reason for this pod is to keep individuals in a state of mind, in a mind frame of staying in a frequency that is always high. You always vibrate high and always feel good
Like,
about yourself, despite whatever you might
that's
be
100%.
going through, and not paying
Right.
attention to noise, haters, and everything that
Yeah.
has nothing to do with your growth or anything that's gonna help you benefit tomorrow. So yeah, man, like
Yeah. And how? And
how
specifically, right? And this is
specifically
where
how?
it's how do we not pay attention to that, right?
Right.
Like
It's down to
a person is completely telling lies about you, right? Every time
right,
they speak to somebody, they're telling lies about you, and those lies are being related back to you, right? Now,
right.
how do I not pay attention to that, right? So, because it's hard, right? It's
Right.
hard. It's maddening actually, right? It's
It is.
maddening. And it's the reason for a lot of crash outs, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's the reason for a lot of crash outs, but like, how do I not pay attention to this, right?
Right.
So, so the mindset is stop thinking about how you're not going to pay attention to it, right? But find something to pay attention to.
Right. To the point where
Cause
it's
if you
just
find enough, it's just what you said.
to the
I don't
point
even,
it doesn't
I,
exist. What are you talking about? What happened?
it
Like,
doesn't exist.
I don't
The
know.
more
Right.
you produce, the
Right.
less the chatter and all the negativity exists. You
Right.
just got to continue to produce in a positive space. And it actually doesn't matter what it is that you're producing, right? You could have like, find a little project that you've been considering, a
Right.
business idea that you've been considering for the past like couple of years while you were in this toxic relationship, and this toxic relationship wasn't allowing you the space to grow within the things that you wanted to do, right? Like
Right.
go back into that, right? And
Right.
even if you can't get it started tomorrow, just start doing the research,
Right.
right? Start figuring out if you want to start a new business, start learning about how to start a new business.
Right.
And just that time that you spend trying to figure out how to do these things, the negative stuff really starts diminishing until it doesn't even register no more, right? Now you don't even
Right.
have to try to ignore it. You literally don't have the time and the brain space to actually pay attention to it.
Exactly. You're so attuned to the creativity or the just the actual building of what you're trying to do whatever
Hmm.
is not on that same frequency, it doesn't even exist. It doesn't
Exact.
register. It's like you lose time knowing that, yo, I'm why am I addressing something that, one, you know it's not true, right? Or doesn't even align with who you are, what you're trying to do. So you don't even pay it any mind. But you definitely have to like replace, you know,
You
whatever
have to.
voids, whatever like traumas that you dealing with. You have to replace it, fill in a void with something new. You know, like you said something. You said
100%.
something really really dope when we spoke. You said
Hmm.
same thing about, like, let's say someone who's overweight, right? And we're not fat shaming. We're not
Hmm.
shaming nobody, right? But let's say someone's
We're not
overweight.
fat shaming, but if you're fat,
Fat, you're
you're
fat.
fat. Like, address it.
Right?
Hit the
So
gym. Like this is something that as a trainer, as a personal trainer for over 25 years, right?
right.
Get your ass in the gym.
Get like, and that's
Yeah,
that's
we're
that's
we're
from
not
love.
shaming. This
That's
is
from
this is
love. That's
bringing
from
you
love.
up. Get
Right.
your
That's
ass in the
from
gym.
the
I
gym.
promise you start to feel better about yourself.
hundred
Get your
percent.
ass in the gym.
Right.
Go ahead,
So
bro. My bad.
right. Yo,
Your
that's
ass
one
in
thing
the
about this
gym.
podcast too. We keep it raw. We keep it real because that's just who
Keep
we
it a
are.
bean. I'm gonna keep it
And
a bean, Bryant.
being Bryant,
Rest in
right?
peace to the GOAT.
Absolutely. It's all about authenticity here. But you said this. You said say someone who eats 5,000 calories and God knows what, right? And all
Right,
type of crazy
right.
foods and whatnot, right? Instead of like saying that, damn, I have to drop down to 2,000 calories, try to eat
Right.
5,000 calories, but in a much nutrient dense diet,
Yeah.
right? Like replace
That,
all the
yeah.
food,
Yeah.
replace the food. Like pretty much, if you want to eat, go
Replace the
ahead and eat.
food. Yeah.
So like instead of like saying,
Yeah.
man, let me get this pizza, like, all right, just get some sweet potatoes, get some chicken breast, get
Yeah.
all this
Or
stuff,
as a
right?
or, or as a matter of fact, bro, as a matter of fact, hold on, pause right there. I wanna add into what you're saying, right?
Right.
If if pizza's your comfort food, right? So
Mm-hmm.
let's add it to the trauma, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're going through a depressive state and you've
Right.
experienced some trauma, right? And
Right.
part of your recovery is eating comfort foods like pizza, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I will never tell you to stop eating pizza, right?
Right.
But like eat a healthier pizza.
Ah.
Replace the quality of that pizza, right?
Right.
Instead
Right.
of
Right.
having like a flour crust, like have an organic pizza, have a cauliflower crust pizza, right?
Mm. Right.
Instead of, you see what I'm saying?
Right.
Like
Right. Right. Right.
replace it. And exactly what you're saying, like I understand the transition that needs to happen when you're going from, when you, life is taking you so low that you don't feel anything, right? Like you're
Right.
basically so hurt and damaged that you feel numb and you're starting to consume all of these foods, right?
Right.
And you're starting to get into this space that's even bringing you lower by replacing those 5,000 calories of really trash food that you've been eating and now adding 5,000 calories of nutrient rich foods, right?
Right.
Not only do you feel just as satiated, right, as you felt when you was eating that garbage, right? But now, like, you start to feel better internally. Your gut
Mm.
starts to feel better. Your
That's a
brain
fact.
starts to operate with a higher efficiency, right?
That's a
Your,
fact.
your, your heartbeat, your blood flow starts to increase, right?
Right.
And then slowly, like that starts to lift you out of that proverbial grave that you've been in,
Mm. That's a
right?
fact.
Because of that
Yeah.
traumatic experience, bro.
Yeah.
So that's like, these are the things that I don't believe people put enough stress on, right? Like, how do
Right.
I bounce back? How do I like figure this thing out, right? Because
That's a
I'm
fact.
going deeper and deeper into a rut, right? And then when
Right.
somebody tells you, yo, you got to start going to the gym, or you're depressed, start going to the gym, right? Then you start like really trying to figure out, damn, how do I eat? How do I do this? It
Right.
adds like another level of pressure,
Right.
and you're like, oh, this is not making me feel better. But here on the High Vibe Pod, it'll let you know, like, as long as you just start making that transition and start figuring it out,
Mm-hmm.
like sometime in the near future, you will start to feel better and you won't even, you would start to like, that trauma goes further and further back into the past until
Right.
it's not even, until you can't even hear those voices anymore, right?
Right. Right. So that's
And it's
that's the
just
thing.
replacing.
replacing it to the point where it's non-existent. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I'm not saying it
Yeah.
doesn't exist because it happened to you, but it's
It'll
non-existent
always
because
exist.
it always exists. But it you've replaced that feeling of
You, yeah,
what you used to feel with something totally
yeah,
new. And
yeah.
I've had my share of that, and I realized that myself. Like there was a time that I was younger, and I didn't feel like I wasn't fulfilling the purpose that I knew that I was
Hmm.
brought here to do, right? So
Yeah.
I was realizing it, but I wasn't filling it with anything, right?
Mm.
Until then I started realizing like, hey, I need to get a camera, start shooting more. I need to actually go to the gym.
Yeah.
I need to be around better
Yeah.
people. And as I
Yeah.
like slowly and gradually started doing that, like the entirety
Yeah.
of my being started to change as far as my
Yeah.
mood, how I felt, like,
Yeah.
and then now you
Yeah.
start to combat with that feeling that you had in the past to the point where this isn't in the back of your mind, like, this doesn't exist
Yeah.
anymore, but
Yeah.
like you said, it's
Yeah.
it's really really important as content creators or entrepreneurs that instead of just relaying a message, we teach people how to
Teach
apply the
people.
message.
Let's give
You
you the
know,
steps. Yeah. Let's give you the
absolutely,
steps. Yeah. And
absolutely.
what you essentially did over time is you started to live more in your purpose.
Ah,
Right?
yep,
Because at the time when you decided, okay, I gotta stop being around these people, I gotta stop doing this, I gotta stop doing that, right?
right,
Like now I've, s- I have to stop doing that. Again, that's negative talk, right?
right,
Stopping is a negative, it has negative connotation, right?
right,
Because it implies that you were doing something wrong that you have to now not do anymore, right?
right,
Uh, but you started to find ways to live in your purpose.
right.
And your purpose, looking at your work, was definitely behind the camera.
Thank you. Yep.
You feel me?
Thank you,
So
man. Thank you.
like now you now you start, what's the first step? What's the first step to actually getting behind the camera or getting to your purpose? Like first step is doing research,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
from personal experience, I had zero idea of how to code an app. I had zero idea of where to start as far as like producing a video game even, right?
Right.
I had
Right.
no idea of how to start like print 3D products,
Right.
right? And so while I'm going through this nasty breakup, right? My little boy is involved, which is my favorite person in the world, right? Like, uh, I'm doing research. I didn't have the tools yet, but the space that I did have, I could have just sat there and been mad or sat there and or call somebody to go ahead and trauma bond, right? Like, no. I Google is free, by the
Google is
way.
free.
If y'all ain't
Word.
know,
Word.
research is free if y'all ain't know. So I
That's a
just got
fact.
into the research. I just got into the research. How do I code? How do I create a video game? How do I have these ideas of products that I want to make? How do I start doing that? And then the downloads
Absolutely.
start coming in, right? And
Right.
as we get further, we get further in the pod, we're gonna get into the download talk, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like we're gonna get into the download talk, but as I start doing research, now my downloads start coming in, right?
Yep.
And I start getting new ideas that start leading me into a different direction.
Right.
And next thing you know, now, now I got material, I got product.
Yep.
I got like systems are running, right?
Right.
Now
Right.
I've learned a new skill.
Right.
I've developed just a new thing, right? And I'm living in my purpose.
You
I'm just
told
living in my purpose. And
you you basically became a new person.
you have to,
Right.
but you grow. The reason why you become a new person is because when you add that positive productivity, right?
Right.
Productivity, when you add it to your existing being, right? It's you add a skill set, and if that skill set aligns with who you are internally,
Yep.
it changes you even to the slightest degree, right? You
Right.
start talking different. right? You start
Absolutely.
talking different. You smile different. You have a
Yep.
different energy. And
Yep.
then you seem like a different person because you are. You just learned something that you can't unlearn. And that starts the process of burying that trauma. Or because
Absolutely.
you can't get rid of it, but you could definitely box that motherfucker up and throw it in the garage or throw it in the attic and just forget about it.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and that's imperative to do, especially if you planning to grow as a person and you're trying to keep your not even trying, you are intentional about raising your frequency. You're intentional about being on a certain vibration where you start to attract more things to you. You know, and
Mhm.
a lot of folks, don't realize that, but this is why we started this
Mhm.
podcast, because we want you
That's
guys to
why.
be aware. We want to bring light to the situation. We want you guys to be cognizant as we are, because
Hmm.
we've went through our share of things, and now we understand that, okay, in order for me to no longer feel these feelings and live in this space, instead of just talking to every single person about it and trying to relate to everybody, how about I go and be more creative?
Yeah.
How about I go to the gym? How about I
Hmm.
start an app? How about I, 10x my business? How about, I start a new craft? How about I go and network with new
Hmm.
friends? And
Yes, sir.
leave whatever was bringing you down here, put that in a box,
Yeah. Right in the
put it
box.
away, and
Put
then
that, put that in the box because honestly, you can't do nothing about it anyway. Like, what
nothing.
could you do? It's
It's
out of your
past at this point.
control,
It's out of,
right? And so it's
when
out of your
Haitians do
control.
this,
What
like,
literally, yeah,
I,
mon cher, nothing, man. Right? So, like, you can't do nothing about it. So we've always heard, control what you can control,
right.
and whatever it is that you can't control, like, don't even try. You're just wasting your time, right?
Wasting
But
time and
again,
energy. Up.
we're still living in that trauma, and that's why we're like trying to control it. We're trying to control this narrative that people might paint about us. You feel me?
Right.
Like,
Right.
you're trying to control this. You can't control the narrative.
Right.
So instead of controlling the narrative, what I'm going to do is I'm going to first start researching, get into something new, and
Right.
create a new narrative
Right.
to put out there, right?
That,
And
but
not just a narrative, but a reality,
right.
a
It was
new
funny.
reality.
What's funny about that, bro? The narrative is not even yours. Like when somebody goes
But
and falsify a narrative and say this about you,
it's theirs.
that's
That's their
theirs. That's not even
creation.
yours. That's not. It's like you haven't even affirmed it as far as like using your vocal cords to say, yeah, I did that, or that's not yours, right? And that's
Mhm.
another thing too. Like whoever believes it, then hey, do your thing. You know what I mean? If that's you, that's you.
And,
But
and
go ahead.
there's no
Go ahead.
point in addressing it, right? Like, somebody puts out a narrative about you that's not true. You go ahead and address it. Like, you think that did something? That ain't do nothing.
Ain't do nothing.
That ain't do
Yeah,
nothing. They
you
ain't
know what
do
I mean?
nothing. But you go create a narrative about me. And then the next time those people who are actually absorbing and listening to that narrative, the next time they see me completely leveling up.
Right,
Now the narrative that you created don't make no sense.
right,
Cause it's like, okay, like, I created this narrative about this person, right? And the people that you're speaking to, they see me, they're like, wait a minute. I'm not, I'm not saying what you talk about.
it was like,
Like,
what is that's the guy?
I'm not saying what you
That's
talking
him?
about.
That's
That's,
homie?
hey, I thought the way
I
you
thought,
described him or the way, what you said about him,
right,
I'm not saying that
right.
because
And
I done created
whole
this whole
different
thing
narrative.
now.
Right. And it's like,
I done filled that void that was left.
right. And funny thing about that too is speak on that, when you're not honest and you have to go and create this quote unquote narrative of somebody else, you have to keep at it. You have to keep these web of lies spinning,
You
because
gotta
the
keep
truth,
going.
yeah, like when you tell the truth is finalized one time. We don't ever have to talk about it again. You told me the truth once, and that's all that matters. But when you create this narrative underneath a foundation of lies, you have to keep the foundation going by lying.
You gotta keep it going.
So so be it.
Cause
And
you
on
look
top of that,
crazy.
you look crazy, and you spend so much time and energy trying to make sure it doesn't break, right? And we're standing in
Hmm.
truth. Ain't nothing breaking over here because we know who we are. We live authentically.
Yeah.
We speak authentically.
Yep.
It's like
Yep.
we're not worried about what other people think, or because that narrative doesn't even
No,
belong to us, you know. So it's so important. And once you
doesn't,
get to
bro.
that, when you get to that level of thinking,
Yeah.
the world is yours.
Yeah.
The world is
Yeah.
yours.
World yours. And
What?
so I take it just to always, and we're always going to keep it real on this, on the High Vibe Pod, and
Right,
we're always going to be intentional, and we're always going to be transparent, right?
right.
In full transparency, right? Haven't been homeless twice,
Oh, wow,
sleeping in my car at two separate points in life,
wow,
sleeping on couches at two separate points in life, taking showers at the gym at two separate points in life, like having my trunk filled with all my clothes, taking a shower at the gym, going back to my truck, uh, trying to find some new clothes to put on while I'm in the car, uh, and then trying to work and earn and make a living and all of that, right?
right.
It's either you die in that state or you pick yourself up. You
Absolutely,
only have you only have those two options, right?
absolutely.
And and so it's easy for me to come on here, come on the camera and say, hey, uh, you find yourself in that position, you got to figure out how to get yourself out, right? But like here, we want to give you the tools, just the knowledge, really, the knowledge from the experience, right? So every single time, I'm like, okay, um, this is the situation. I'm sleeping in my car.
Hmm.
This is the situation here. Sleeping on somebody's couch.
Right.
Now, if I don't want to be in this position for long, right? Like, what am I going to do tomorrow? What am I going to do with this time? Right? Uh, and always start with research. Always start with
Absolutely.
research. You can literally, go on chat, use any sort of AI platform and say, I'm in this situation. This is my situation, right?
Right.
Cause your dumbass is still trauma bonding with the next motherfucker that ain't doing shit, right? Go to chat.
Right. Like right
Go to
now,
right
open
now.
AI, Chat
Open
GPT.
open AI right now. Tell chat, I am in this situation. This is my age. This is my skill sets that I have. This is uh tell chat what you know how to do and say, I'm in this situation. How do I get myself out of that situation?
Right.
And chat is going to produce scenarios. It's going to produce a response. The response may match you 100%. It may match you 90%. It may match you 70%. It
Right.
may only match the response that you were looking for by 30%, but
Right.
it's going to give you something to a starting position, right?
Right.
It's going to say, if you have this skill set, right? And I know what
Right.
my skill set was when I was homeless, right?
Right.
My skill set was physical abilities, right?
Right.
I have physical abilities, right? So how do I exercise my physical abilities to be able to get me out of this, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so
Right.
I could always rely on training, right? I could just
Yep.
keep figure out how to keep my gym membership, right? Hit the gym, prospect in the gym, try to get some clients in that way, right?
Right.
If you're if whatever your deal is, if you whatever it is that your skill set is, there is a way to use that, or whatever it is your ideas are, right?
Right.
Maybe you know how to make things. Maybe you know how to sew. Maybe you know how to, whatever it is, get you a starting point. And the starting point is always research, right?
Yep.
So if we can leave you with anything today, is whenever you're going through this, whenever you're going through your trauma or you're in your depressive state, start by researching.
Absolutely.
Think about
Absolutely.
think about the things that you've always wanted Think about the things that you've always wanted to do. Think about that business that you've always wanted to start,
Yep.
and open up your computer, your phone. If you don't have a computer and your phone, go to the library, use somebody else's. I don't care what you do, but just start doing the research.
Right.
So every single time, both times that I was homeless, when my 13-year-old, when his mom died of cancer, and I was just like left at when he was a year and a half years old, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like, I just started doing research on what it is I can possibly do, all of the things that I could possibly do. And then along the way, you just find your path and things that align with your being, right? You just start doing research and then you go, oh, okay, I think I could do this right here. And something
Absolutely.
pops up, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the downloads that I was talking about earlier. You get a download and you're like, oh, that's an idea. Let me go research this idea. You research the idea and then you realize I could possibly do this. Then you
Right.
research what are the steps to actually doing this.
Right.
If there's 100 steps, start step one. Because step one is literally the start of your recovery.
Absolutely.
And step two and step three. And then you'll see by the time you get to step like 15 or 20 and you actually start producing, next thing you know, opportunities start coming your way because you're not living in that trauma anymore.
Exactly.
You're really trying to find your purpose and find your alignment. And you start raising your frequency. And when you
Yep.
start raising your frequency, right, that force field, that energy force field that really emits from our brains and that exist outside of us that we can't see. Now that
Right.
starts to grow,
Yep.
right? And people start to feel that. And next thing you know, you just start getting this love.
Right.
You just start getting more
Yep.
downloads, more opportunities.
Yep.
And now you start cooking. You might be in the same situation.
Right.
You might be in the same situation because at the time I'm cooking, but I'm homeless.
Right.
So what I
Right.
do? Focus on being homeless or focus on cooking up? I just keep cooking. Next thing you know, I keep cooking and now this opportunity comes and oh, this opportunity actually is going to provide a way for me to get a home,
Right.
right? To get a home of my
Right.
own.
Right.
And then I keep cooking and now this opportunity provides like more income. And then I
Right.
keep cooking. Now I got another opportunity,
Right.
right? So if anything, start with some research,
Research.
but just understand that you have been left with a crater inside of your being, and that crater needs to be filled. So perspective, right? If you have a crater in your yard, right? And it's this deep crater and it's empty, right? If you don't start to fill it, next thing you know, you're going to see weeds. You're going to see like worms. You're going to see different, like just nasty shit that starts to come up, right?
Right.
But like instead of leaving that crater empty and then living with that, coming outside and seeing that crater that reminds you of what happened, right?
Every
Fill it,
day.
like
Fill it.
build
Yes.
a pond.
Yes.
Build a pond. And you
Yes.
can't build a pond in one day. Add a little bit of water to it. Right? You
Yes.
come back the next day, add some more water. 30 days later, now you got a nice little pond. Go
Right.
to the, I don't know, go to Petco or something, get some little fish or something like that.
Right.
Put that little fish in there. Next
Right.
thing you know, that crater that used to be in your soul is now this nice little pond with friendly fish in there. And you're just looking at it and feel
Much better.
great.
Great. Because you did the work. And like, and put things into perspective. A lot of people that actually know John personally, he went through all these situations, but he never like, you never seen it. Like, you never felt that he was going through it. And you didn't see it on his face because he understood the principle behind it. So like, what he's saying is not fluff. You know, he's a very resilient dude, and you've never see him in a very down moment. You may hear him speak about it, but he never harped on it. He just told you what it is, and then he got straight to cooking. And you like, it's, you know, he always had this smile, he had this energy that he was just doing what he was doing at a high frequency, and that's how we got aligned. You know, because
Yeah.
like, bro, when I met you, I didn't know not 1 ounce of what was going on, but I knew you was here to help us train. you know, get in better shape, and as we started to know you and understand what you've been through,
Hmm.
it
Yeah.
pondered on us. We was like, yo, this dude
Yeah.
has been going through all this, and
Yeah.
he's still training us, and
Yeah.
has a huge smile on his face, and he's
Yeah.
like, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
So that kind of gives you
'Cause
some understanding. Go ahead, bro. Go
I
ahead.
seen I seen the light in the gang, right? I seen the
Right,
light because some people just have a light that shines through them, right? Like no matter
right,
what age or race or whatever it is, gender, whatever it is, like some people just have a light
right.
that they emit, right? And I seen the light, right? And I know at the time y'all were all young, right? And I know, like what life has in store looking ahead, right?
Yep.
Like there's a lot of beautiful things to come. There's a lot of
Hmm.
nasty work that's going to come also, right?
Yep.
So like, let me try to help you all build this foundation of how to not only grow when things are going well, how to continue to grow, but how to bounce back and what perspectives that you should have and beliefs that you should maintain when life starts lifing,
Right,
right? And and I had to be the example and not just the talk, right?
right.
Because a lot of times you got content creators that are actually that might tell you something like, hey, you should start a business like I did, right? Or this is what you can do. These are the possibilities, right? But they're not letting you know that, hey, my uncle just gave me 100 grand to start this
Right,
business.
right, right.
And you
Everyone's
like,
cards are
you
different.
know,
Yep.
everyone's cards are different.
Right,
So now I think because of the things that I've been through, I'm able to talk to the guys or to the guys and the girls and just the people all over who have truly hit rock bottom. And I mean, shit, below the ground, right?
right.
To have truly hit to where you just feel you know, you get hit and you feel like your soul has left your body and you have nothing left, right?
Yep.
How to go from empty to completely fulfilled.
Right.
And that you can't, no one can take it away from you.
No
And that's
one.
the thing that stays with you forever. And then it becomes your purpose, right? It just becomes your purpose in life. And you can always rely on your purpose. As long as you're living in your purpose, as long as you've taken the time to do the research, figure it out what it is,
Right.
continue to do the research. And then when you actually have the steps to what you want to do, start to develop those steps and don't let anything get in the way of that, right?
Nothing.
Start to develop those steps. And now as you go along that journey, you start to become in alignment with your personal being, who you are, who you're meant to be, right?
Absolutely.
And you're living now you're living in the energy of God, right? You're living in
Mm.
God's energy, in God's presence, because you're operating you're operating in the sense that was intended for you specifically.
Right.
But you can't do that continuing to just live and die in that trauma.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like you gotta change. You gotta change the frequency on the radio. You gotta change the station. You know, if
Change that
you
bitch.
change that
Don't be
motherfucker.
afraid too.
Don't be
Don't be afraid
afraid.
too. Like
And
and it's
man,
necessary. You're going to have to change the frequency anyway.
right,
If you're getting out of if you're getting out of a relationship, right? And a motherfucker don't want to be with you no more, right? Like they're on a certain frequency. They're on a
right.
certain station, a radio.
Yeah,
Like
well,
turn it, turn it.
turn it.
They've
Oh,
already
they
turned your
turned it on
frequency
you.
off.
Yeah, they turned it on you already. So it's like, what do you do?
By the time, what
Right,
do you do? By the time somebody starts to create a narrative about you that isn't true, they've already
right,
turned the frequency on you,
right.
right? And you're still stuck trying to figure out why,
Why?
right? Or why it's happening.
Why?
Like who cares?
Right,
Who cares? Who
right.
cares? Like I don't care why or how you've even gotten to the point where you think what you think about me.
Right.
Right? I don't, I don't care. Have at it. And yeah, if it's true to you, then it's true to you. I don't even want to take that truth away. It's true to you.
Right.
It's true to you. But whatever's true to you about me 3 months ago, 5 months ago, 6 months ago, a year, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, if whatever it is that's true about me to you, from then it's a new day.
Right.
It's not true to me anymore,
Right.
right? Even if it was
Right.
me at the time, now
Right.
I've done the work
Right.
and I'm shining again.
Shining
And
again, and
I'm up and I'm up again. That whole
that's a fact.
narrative doesn't even apply to
That's a
who
fact.
I actually am right now.
That's a fact. I
Yo,
mean,
yo, yeah, ooh, nasty work, Pat. I got like 1 minute left on, on the battery.
it's all
1 minute
love.
left. You might lose me.
Nah. We won't, I'm not gonna. Ah, man. Well, that concludes our podcast. Hi, Bob. But tap in, tune in. We have plenty more episodes coming in. Jean-Luc was transparent. He said we're gonna lose him, but hey, it is what it is. We love y'all. Stay on a high frequency. Stay on a high vibe. Peace.